Yes, let me say good morning to Amaya Ajirigene as well. Good morning, sir. I hope you are doing very well. Now, Yomi, how are you doing, sir? Yes, listeners, let me once again apologize for the late start of that program. We're doing our best to get that program on to make sure that our lovely listeners enjoy it. But thank God it came on in the last moment. We managed 30 minutes late, but it still came on. And thank you very much for your patronage as well, especially those of you who listen to us from the African continent. My goodness, costs you an arm and a leg, yet you are able to tune in and watch us and listen to us. We cherish that very, very much. And we say thank you very much. But at this juncture, it's time for us to look at the stories that is making the rounds in Nigeria, and that is what we are going to be bringing your way. One of the most disturbing failures of the regime of the president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, is the attitude toward the education of Nigerian children. There have been so much talk without talk, without ding, 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 actions, retrogression in places of progress. Yomi, that is quite a very sad thing when it comes to education, because that is the future of the country, of the nation. That's the future of it. If it's going very bad, then we have a problem. What do you say?
The audio from the other platform, and I believe they can hear us now. On it, there is about 13 million, of Nigerian children that are currently out of school, and it seems that this government, the previous government, have not done much, to sort out the issue. And the question then again is, we still see that those that are still even in the university are still having problem, because we saw at the beginning of these this year, and then the previous year, that more of them will also experience a strike. What do we understand by strike? Strikes means that when the teachers or the lecturers are not paid on time, when those that are meant to give them the wages do not do so, then that means lecturers end up not being available for the student. But let's go back to the basic. And what is the basic? The basic is we want an average Nigerian from the age of 0 to 16 to have what we call a nursery, a primary, and at least a secondary school maximum. And that if they decide that they want to go into vocational or training and they do not want to go to university, that will be option. But more people will love to go to the university if that availability is there as well. But the situation in Nigeria, like I always say, is like a comatose. It's like a train that leaves Kano, making its way, to Lagos. It's meant to be under 2 days, which should not be, because we're using all these old gauge, and those old gauge end up getting stuck somewhere in Zaria. That means for 72 hours, some Nigerians were stuck on the train. That is where Nigeria is. It's a train that is not moving at all. And like you said on that headline, millions of Nigerians are currently out of school, not because of their own choice, it's because the situation in Nigeria does not permit more people to attend the schools.
Now, if you look at the population of Nigeria at the moment, and vis-a-vis what do you call it, facilities that are available, do you think the government has done? I mean, not this government alone, but past present government have done enough to make sure that infrastructure, we have enough infrastructure to go around everybody in Nigeria at the moment. Do you think that has been done at all?
Well, I mean, some states are doing their best. I mean, yesterday I picked up from Mundo State that they've done about almost 500 schools renovation, and we hope, it can be a kind of a continuity. The problem has always been is that we have about, if not close to 206 million Nigerians that were put together in 1914 of an amalgamation that shouldn't have been in the first place. We have countries like Finland that is not even up to the population of our local government, and they're doing very well in terms of education. And that is some of the reason why a lot of people believe that, this country is not putting the effort together, because we've never been a country, but it was something that was put together in the hope that the union will work. That union has literally failed, and we hope that we can be able to rectify this problem either by going into a referendum and let the Nigerians decide where they want to be, rather than where we have not just the Yorubas, not just the people from the northern part of the country, not people from the middle belt or those in the southeast, but we have a total collapse of the system structure that is not helping. Yes, there's effort, to make sure that the schools are available, but sometimes there's also so much corruption. And that is why, I was laughing when I saw the Lagos State governor, that I believe was a pre-plan, because there's an election that is coming. This was last week, Mr. Archie. He was driving to an event that got to do with education, and he ended up stopping on the road because he, from his motorcade, which I'm sure sometimes they don't even look at what is happening with their dark tinted glass, and they don't probably concentrate on what is happening outside. But for one reason, the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu, was able to spot two young girls carrying something on their head. He pulled over, created a scene, and we end up finding out that these two girls were not in school. One of them because there is no funding to take them back to school, and some was just on an errand to do what we call akara. Akara is in the local language is beans cake, and he was saying, I would take care of them. But the question is, I would love him to travel around Lagos every day and find out how many young Nigerians are roaming down the street of Lagos, not just in Lagos, but every part of the state, and maybe they can rectify that rather than creating a kind of a scenario. And I should tell, he was able to use that video during that presentation he gave on that day.
Of course, you use it as a propaganda. That's what they always do. But we're going to look at how many children roughly are out of school at the moment. When we take the basic foundation down, we don't have to get it wrong. But let me say, I'm not saying that, well, any country that fails to invest in its education will crack. I mean, crack like Nigeria. Because of what I say, when injustice strikes, economy will collapse like Nigeria is collapsing. Now, so from the top of your head, roughly, how many children do you think are out of school? I mean, we just talked about two girls who were running a few errands, whether trading or doing something to make money for their parents or to be able to better themselves one way or the other. How many children roughly do we see?
Well, the last count from what we had, maybe that number continue to increase, especially now that we have the situation of the poverty level that continues to grow, and even an average. There's nothing called middle class anymore in Nigeria. It's just the wealthy, and that's it. As some few years ago, is about 13 million Nigerian students, young ones, are out of school. And by the time you add those adults to it as well, you're probably looking at about close to 20 million. That is a staggering figure, but I am not surprised and I'm not shocked, because none of the governments since 1999 have done some priority to make sure that everybody can go to school. For you to attend a school, that means the facility, the advantage must be there. I remember making a video that went viral, I think about 2 years ago. And what I said in that video is, we can't continue to deceive ourselves by calling God. God does not set up the school. God does not set up the children to go into the school. It is a system that enables people to go to school. And I was actually showing a school somewhere in the London borough of Enfield, where I was saying that you can come to this school within the age of 0 to 5 for free. They've even pointed where you can do all the application without a one kobo. We can do the same thing in Nigeria. As the 6th largest crude oil producer, but as of today, 100 million adulterated petrol has now imported into Nigeria, and that is damaging vehicle. The fuel scarcity is growing, and we don't know whether there will be so much pressure on the street, because at the moment, as we're discussing education, we're discussing so many other issues. And the question, like Sanusi, the former emir of Kano, say in one of his broadcast, a couple of days ago, Nigeria should be prepared. He predict the doom that is coming on Nigeria, and he was also saying that Nigerians will probably have to, let me read it as according to what he said. The ex-Kano Emir Sanusi, a former Central Bank of Nigeria, says Nigeria will be much deeper hole over next year election in than 2015. But he also advised that the former Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi, that has also complained, bitterly about the way the Northerners have not done so much to educate the young ones, that will now end up become alimajiri across the whole north. And some of them have now also been used, infiltrated into the terrorist activities, which we're going to be discussing on the headline, because I have something from the United Nations discussing that. But he raised the alarm that Nigeria is living on extra time, tasking citizens to brace up for tougher times in the years ahead.
Well, listen to Starr in the UK. I'm just from Nigeria with Miss Olayomi Koiki in our North London studios, and I'm here in the South London studio. Okay, now Antonio Dedeji, thumbs up to you too. Maya says that a country like UK consists of 4 nations like England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Yet they are functioning properly. Why is Nigeria not doing so? I'm looking at the population, and I think to ask myself, do we blame government for failure because of our stretched, or let me put it, overstretched population? Is it that we didn't plan, we didn't think that we were going to, we have a population boom, and therefore, it's all happened, and then we are like, oh, we'll be taking a back? What do you think about that? Okay, and then the other question that I want to find out too from our listeners, is that do you think, as a songwriter, that a few times we've been playing that song on Niger Voices to say Nigeria will survive. Nigeria will survive. I've forgotten the name of that artist, but
Sonny Okoso.
Oh, okay. So do you think Nigeria can survive everything that is going on at the moment? Where at the moment we know that there have been adulterated fuel in the country, a country that is supposed. It's the 6th largest fuel crude oil
producing
country, and yet we have that happening because we imported some adulterated crude oil, finished product, let me call it petrol or diesel, whichever is appropriate, that's going on in the country, and now government is going to compensate, pay for the damage to people's vehicles. Really? Okay. I'm going to say it's by UK merger 6 nations together to become one. Is that not a joke? Okay. You know what I'm talking about? Talking about that the UK led Nigeria to 6 nations, merge them together to become one. Why didn't they have created as if they've done what we have here in the UK, where 4 nations are there, they become United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, yet everybody is doing their own thing and things are taken along nicely. So why not? Nigeria can never survive. Break it up now. All right. I hear you. But let's go back to your name. Let's talk about this fuel, adulterated fuel, and the people's vehicles. How many vehicles so far do you think have been affected by this?
Well, it's not about how many vehicles that has been affected. The question is, will the government ever be able to pay those that even their vehicle got affected in the first place? That's the question. And this story have literally, become a conversation that a lot of people will want to find out. How did we even get to where, a kind of an imported petrol is getting into an adulterated? There's a difference in bringing in, a refined product of a PMS or petrol, into the country. Even though we own the resources, which is the crude oil. The crude oil is pumped, and that is what gave us the forex exchange. More countries are probably not buying it as it used to be because, more countries are now changing, into a better energy system, which we've been talking about for some time now, and we saw that as well. But the question is, NNPC counter MRS says marketer and 3 others imported adulterated fuel. My question then is, how did this fuel got into the country? If the country that has the border that is meant to protect it, we are now seeing, adulterated petrol coming into the country, and that means it was not checked, it was not tested, and it's just gone across the whole country. Is now damaging vehicles, and nobody's going to get any compensation, and that is the fact. Because when the government said we will pay back, that doesn't happen. But let's look into that story. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company, known as the NNPC, has counter MRS Oil Nigerian PLC as regard the recent importation of adulterated premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, into the country. NNPC Grouping Managing Director Malik Kaira named MRS and 3 other dealers as the firms that imported the contaminated product into Nigeria. This was, however, in contrast to the position of MRS. A speech shared to a selected broadcast media quoted Kaira as saying, on January 20, 2022, NNPC received a report from our quality inspector on the presence of emulsion particles in a PMS cargo ship to Nigeria from Antwerp in Belgium. Again, Belgium, when we look at the population of Belgium and you want to ask, why should we take our own crude oil to Belgium for refinery? From the index of information I have here, Belgium is a country in West Europe, is known for its medieval town, Renaissance, artichoke, and as headquarters of the European Union and NATO. The country has a diverse region, including Dutch-speaking, which a lot of Yorubas are saying we should break away from Nigeria so that we can keep our own culture, our own language. But the question is, Belgium is only 11.5 million as of 2020. And let's look at their GDP. In terms of their GDP per capita, Belgium is about 515 billion US dollars. And it's because Nigeria has continued to take the crude oil to Belgium. We won't probably have known this. I am aware that there's one here in UK in Southampton, but to even know that we have one in Belgium that is refined on our behalf makes Belgium a better country that more Nigerians would rather want to live than live in Nigeria as of today. And this is the reason why more people are saying, is this union of marriage really working? If we can have adulterated premium petrol that have now circulated across the country, it shows the same thing about the illegal weapons and other adulterated food and other items that continue to be consumed in Nigeria and makes Nigeria a country of a dumping ground. And I'm sure more Nigerians that are listening this morning will be shocked to know that Belgium is one country that has been helping Nigeria to refine their crude oil.
Interesting. Listen to Mr. Olayomi Koiki on the fuel and adulterated fuel issue that is going on in Nigeria, where government has come out to say that we want to compensate anyone who has got their vehicle breaking down the cause of this contaminated fuel usage. But you're saying that it's something that will not happen. But various times government has promised we're going to do that and nothing has been done. But let me go to what Amaya said and then we can continue. Amaya says UK with 70 million population had 4 nations, but UK merged 6 nations of 210 million into one country. We will break it up by force. Amaya, please, is here. Don't break it up by force. Let's see whether we can still draw to get that solution that we are talking about. But when it comes to this adulterated fuel that we're talking about, I'm looking at it that the regulator, the ones who are supposed to check before the fuel is policies back into the country, didn't do their job, they didn't do due diligence. So you cannot actually blame the federal government directly. Do it.
Well, I mean, the federal government will be blamed because the federal government refused to fix the refinery, and this was part of their campaign, which we've been discussing on Niger Voices yesterday, and that continue next week. Yes, the importers, these are criminals on their own that probably have asked those that were, making these to add whatever they need to add to it so that they can get more opportunity to have the volume. It's like somebody that travels to China, had a sitting with the company and says, I want you to produce this. They will ask, at what grade do you want it? And they'll probably go for the cheapest grade because they believe that it can be taken and it will arrive in Nigeria and probably some individuals will be paid. Let's look at it from the port. If this was going through the port as a shipment, that means it could have been tested. That means somebody was paid up. There was a kind of a bribe. Let's leave that. Then it comes into the state. You would expect the state as well to have their own regulatory where they can be able to quickly identify the issues and the problem before they start dispensing it into the petrol station. But again, this didn't happen until we started seeing that some cars' engine were knocking off, and then we realized that something was gone wrong, and the government has to come out and say, yes, we are now aware of this adulterated petroleum that has come into the country. How did this happen is the same question that millions of Nigerians are asking. How did we end up being the number 3 in the world under the Global Terrorism Index? When I mean that, that means Nigeria of today means you will be either be kidnapped, be killed by a kind of a terrorist attack, and that also is the message coming from the next headline that I'll be coming up with shortly.
Yeah, listeners, this is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. It's Olayomi Koiki bringing you updates from Nigeria. And Secretary General of the UN Office of Counterterrorism, Vladimir Voronkov, says the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, that's ISIL, a terrorist group, is expanding its affiliates and network beyond Syria and Iraq to Nigeria and other West African countries. How true is that, Yogi?
Well, you're quite right. This headline I've picked up this morning, and I'll be discussing and elaborating on it after this, radio program, because we'll not be able to, do everything on the justice. But what we do on Starr Radio UK is, we give you the best news of what is happening, especially in Nigeria. And this is a kind of a concern, not to me, but to those that are probably still thinking that Nigeria is as safe as you might want to think about it. The headline says, ISIL terrorist group is expanding, intensifying activities in Nigeria, according to United Nations. As we begin a new decade of counter-terrorism, it is time to ask ourselves difficult questions and search for honest answer, added by the UN official. According to the Secretary General of the UN Office of Counter-Terrorism, Vladimir Voronkov, says the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, known as ISIL, a terrorist group, is now expanding its affiliates and network beyond Syria and Iraq to Nigeria and other West African countries. This was mentioned yesterday during the UN Counterterrorism Chief Security this was yesterday when the UN Counterterrorism Chief told the Security Council that the epicenter of ISIL terrorist group, officially known as Daesh, activities now appear to be in African continent. It also seems that the African countries are taking this very serious. This is going to be something that we need our people to continue to demand, not just from the international community, but their representative back home, that ISIL that has now become expanding their network. And we are saying that yesterday, Mr. Archie, I got a message from Kaduna from one person that is very close to our program on Starr Radio UK and other platforms that we discussed, says, my brother's wife was kidnapped at about 1 a.m. yesterday. They literally went into the house. It was later in the morning. They found out that 2 extra people were kidnapped on the same street as well. And negotiation of 100 million is already on the table. But the brother himself had to run out of the house with a lot of injury by going through the barbed wire. According to the Undersecretary General, says the terrorist activities were gaining ground in Central and West Africa, Nigeria precisely, which is a continue at an unsettling scale and pace. That should be something that we should be concerned. We have been discussing it, that this issue is becoming more problem. According to him, the terrorist activities are intensifying in Central and West Africa, especially in Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mali, and Niger. The reason why Niger is mentioned is also where we get concerned. There are more terrorists coming through the Niger border into Nigeria because of our porous border. We need to be very concerned, and this is a big issue if we now have ISIL that are becoming more powerful. They are more powerful because we can see that on not just a conversation alone, we are seeing evidence based of some of their artilleries, some of their storage facilities, and not just alone, some of the atrocity being committed, not just in the Yoruba side of the southwest, in the southeast, in the northwest, in the northeast. It has become a ravaging. This kidnap that I'm talking about happened yesterday in Kaduna State.
Wow. Listeners, it is 11:13, Starr Radio UK update from Nigeria. We have Olayomi Koiki, and we are looking at a lot of stories that is making the rounds this morning. So wherever you are, if you want to join the conversation, feel free to come put your comment as others are doing so. Let me take the opportunity to acknowledge My apologies, Igetunde is a Nigeria don't divide since the killing of late Chief MKO Abiola, but it's not officially stated. Now, Yoruba Nation will be established by special
Starr Radio UK, yes.
Yes. And then Amaya says injustice leads to insecurity. So you reckon
okay.
What is possible? All right, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's go back to Yomi for the rest of the story that is making the rounds in Nigeria. Over to you, Yomi.
Yes, sir. As they say, thank you very much to you, Mr. Archie, and those that are listening to us. Remember, if you're sending money home to your loved ones, use Send Waves. Remember the code S for Star, R for Radio, and that will give you the first discount. And also, remember to continue to watch and listen to us and follow us. Some of the headlines, the most frightening thing about Nigerian future, we talk about the education that is coming up there. But things doesn't seem to be going very well, especially with the fuel scarcity that has now erupted away from Lagos. As of this morning, our reporter was giving us a live transmission from one of the very closest petrol stations in Ibadan, where there's now a lot of queue. And that will start trickling down to other parts of the state as well. Foreign treatment. The reps is now proposing a 7-year imprisonment, 500 million fine for officials. I'm sure probably maybe this might still happen to Buhari should he make any attempt to travel to London for another kind of treatment here in the United Kingdom. From what we can tell you here, a bill seeking to prescribe a jail of 7 years or a fine of 500 million naira for officials who spend public funds on foreign medical trips narrowly passed second reading at the House of Representatives yesterday. It was sponsored by Sejos in Ogun State, a PDP. The proposed legislation is titled A Bill for an Act to Amend National Health to 2014 and for related matters. So this is saying that anybody, official, using government money to travel abroad, 7 years or 500 million. So we see if this bill is passed as quickly as possible, and that probably will stop not just the Buhari and also those that are planning to continue to travel rather than fix the healthcare system in Nigeria. Federal government will look into ASU grievance strike threat, according to INDIGE. Remember, we've been talking about the the strike that is about to come out again from the ASU, which is the Association of the Academic Staff Union University. But the Minister for Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, yesterday stated that the federal government would look into the threat by the Academic Staff Union of the university. The minister said most of the union grievances were domiciled in the Ministry of Education and Communication and Digital Economy. ASU had issued several threats of an indefinite strike over what the union tagged the failure of the federal government to honor some of the agreement it signed in the past. It seems the federal government likes signing agreement and never fulfilling. Also, 5.2 billion naira case, JAMB ex-register operated 8 funny farms, according to his aide. These are part of the problem in Nigeria. Somebody that is meant to be in charge of where money is kept is either the snake swallow the money or the monkey refuse that the money should be kept on the ground and move it up so that nobody gets to touch it. According to the headline here says, the register for Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, Professor Dibu Ojerinde, allegedly floated 8 companies, purchased 3 buildings and banks shares through his cronies while holding a public office. According to the Federal High Court in Abuja yesterday, informed how the farmer register was able to have 8 companies and do all this. The companies, 2 duplex and a bungalow and the bank shares were said to have been acquired by Ojerinde when he was the chief executive of JAMB. A witness, Peter Oyewole, made the revelations while testifying for the Independent Corrupt Practice and Other Related Offense Commission in the 5.2 billion corruption charges against Ojerinde. That is a staggering amount of money, but it is still an allegation proven otherwise in the court when that is going to finally come up. Let's look at the ISU that we discussed earlier. We hope that the international community that continue to let the genocide, the killings that is happening in Nigeria, and also might probably use this opportunity to ask the question whether Nigeria can hold on now that we have activities that has now gained ground in the part of Nigeria by ISO. So let's look at some other headline before we start coming back again to you in the studio. It is still the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Sanwo-Olu should prevent bloodshed. NURTLTEN. We do know that in the country called Nigeria, most of the road transport system is something that has been given to what we call the tout, and most of them have now become more powerful than even the governor of a state. And according to this headline, Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State, should prevent bloodshed. The National Union for Road Transportation and also the RITEM assaulting tipper drivers. When I challenge them, they beat the hell out of me and the driver, and they stole 500,000 and was taken to the market. Claim Mr. Onifade. The Allied Truck Transport Association of Nigeria, ATAN, the Badagry Zone, have decried the attack on its members by the Road Transport Employee Association of Nigeria, and we have so many names of such. There's a particular one that is controlling the one in Lagos called MC Oluomo. His children are currently schooling in America, but here we go when we have touts that have hold on to the position that the government is meant to take in charge. Imagine that we have tout controlling the transport system in London rather than being the mayor of London that controls that. This is a scenario for those that might not understand why we are saying that a system must work only if the structure and the implementation of it. But what we say is MC Oluomo, as is the chairman of the Lagos Transport Union in the whole of Lagos, money that is meant to be used are now going through some of these funny individuals that have become not as a stakeholder but also committing all kind of crime, and this has been going on for a very long time. We also have them in Ibadan, in Oyo State. There's a particular one called Auxiliary. We saw some of his men with wielded weapons, guns and charms, and machete that were about to conclude. They were about to take that to Ekiti State during this political campaign that is meant to take place. I can confirm now that the 15 of them or thereabout have been released as well. So we have touts that have made hell difficult for an average Nigerian. So the Allied Truck Transport Association of Nigeria, the Badagry Zone, has now decried out. Atan Badagry Zone Chairman Kolawole Onifade disclosed this in an interview. According to him, members of the two unions have attacked Atan's members and prevented them from working. I was on my way to Alaba to buy spare parts for my trucks when the union members attacked one of our members, telling him to collect a ticket when he had already collected one. When I challenged them, they beat the hell out of me, and sometimes, Mr. Archie, they do kill people as well. I'm talking about these powerful criminals that are working mostly with the politicians, whether they're APC or PDP, because PDP controls Oyo State, while APC controls Lagos State. But this is where we find ourselves in the situation in Nigeria on a daily basis. Fire me passionate about the Nigerian development in northern part, according to Ekiti State Governor. I rather want him to make sure that the Ekiti State indigene have access to education, welfare, and all sorts of things. Fire me passionate about Nigerian development, according to him, as the northern governors. They noted that Fire me engagement as the Nigerian Governor Forum Chairman with the federal government led to some breakthrough that impacted the lives of Nigeria. I would like to know where part, because in the Ekiti State, as I speak to you, which I've done this morning, there are more Ekiti that are out of school. There are more Ekiti that have even gone to school. They are now doing POS, and there are more people in Ekiti State. They are suffering for the bad road, the lack of hospital, lack of security. And here we go. The chairman of the Governor Forum, Fayemi, is saying passion for peace and unity. This contained a congratulatory message to Fayemi as he clocked 57 years by the Northern Governors Chairman Simon Lalong. What do you expect? They will support each other. I'll come back again first to you in the studio before we go back into the Twitter to see what is trending on Nigeria this morning.
Well, there's interesting stories and developments from Nigeria this morning. I think I listened to some of them and I get worried, really worried about what is going on. I ask myself the question, what next? Well, but I acknowledge Amaya says injustice leads to corruption, insecurity, separatism, agitation, food scarcity, poor economy, and bad road, etc., etc. It's a wake up, rise up, speak up for your right, and don't give up the fight. It was better to say revolution now, freedom now, Yoruba nation now, no going back. Now it goes on finally saying Nigeria is the only country in the world where touts billionaires. And I'm asking the question here this morning, if you are listening to us, is corruptible support corruptibles. Of course.
And from this end, I quickly also say good morning to those that are listening to us on the platform as well. Good morning to from Morocco. We have somebody watching us from Morocco. Comfort Ologunja and Nigeria Now to Save Lives, Yoruba Nation. Good morning to Casmo Media that is watching us from Yoruba land in Nigeria Southwest. And I will say thank you very much to those of you that have also joined us, as well. Sulaiman Yusuf, Adebayo Sunday, and the rest that are also following us on Instagram. And yes, according to Musbalawa says, more strength to Koiki and the rest of the crew members of Starr Radio UK. I'll come back now again to you back in the studio.
Yes, listen to Starr Radio UK, updates from Nigeria. Now, I'm asking the question here, what would be Buhari's legacy? Those of you who supported Buhari when he was coming on, the promises that he made and everything, we were all saying that, well, look at the insecurity that was going on. Good luck, Jonathan wasn't doing that much, and always all his bribery and corruption that was being alleged that he had been involved in and everything. And then we had Buhari coming in, people voted for him. And now we see, I'm asking you, I've not been in Nigeria for the past 8 or 10 years now, so I've not experienced firsthand what is going on in there. But if you are listening to us from Nigeria or wherever, we want you to tell us, what is Buhari's legacy? Call it next year, if it happens, that election happens, then he's had 2 terms. Now, what do you think it has been his legacy so far? But it's not really okay. We'll go back to Yomi for what is happening on the social media platform. But Yomi, if you also want to maybe touch on Buhari's legacy before you go on.
Well, I mean, what we will have to continue to ask that question. For me, I would say this is a government that promised that security will be tightened. A lot of people saw Buhari as an military man that has the experience and the capacity, but now we realize that he's more of a favor of a particular ethnic group as against other. That is my own view. That is my own opinion, and that has not helped the country because if the report coming out this morning, like I said, I'll be reviewing that more. After the program this morning, that we now have ISO. I would expect this government to have done better. But rather they are chasing the shadow. They pinned down Showore, in Abuja, they pinned down Nnamdi Kanu by kidnapping him and renditioning him back, to Nigeria. Chief Sunday IGBOHO is still being held in Benin Republic because the Nigerian government of Buhari and Olayomi Koiki Kojo, are attacking individuals that are speaking against the injustice. The reason why, Chief Sunday IGBOHO was attacked was because he was demanding that there's no security. When we say Abo means security for the people. And what we find out is in the southwest of Nigeria, there's been so much killing. So for me, the legacy of Buhari will be something that we will discuss for a very long time as a government, as an individual that prefer himself and his own particular ethnic group as against other ethnic group. Like I said, that is my own view and that is my own opinion. I'll only try the opinion of the Starr Radio UK. And this is why somebody like me, my view is we must go out of Nigeria. We must ask a kind of a referendum to decide whether I, as a Yoruba man, still want to stay in Nigeria, just as the British says we don't want to be part of European Union. We would rather be British than be part of the EU.
Okay, listen, I must say that Buhari's legacy are insecurity, corruption, suffering, and killings. He's something I would say that is what Buhari's legacy is. But, well, let us know what you also think. Maybe because there is a story that I read when I was in the British School, thereabout, and it talks about the 10 blind men of Hinduism who went to see an elephant. And depending on where everybody stood, they had a different description of the elephant. The one who held the task was saying that, whoa, the elephant is like a spear. The one who held the side was thinking, whoa, the elephant is like a big whoa, wow. And various points, depending on where you're standing. So, now I'm not necessarily, you're saying that, I'm not saying that, but maybe you are looking at it from a different perspective altogether. We want to know your take. When we're here to bring what you are thinking on board. But now let's move on to what is happening on the social media.
Well, the social media this morning, as you can tell, it's all full about this adulterated petrol. I mean, I've been able to see some of the videos right in front of me, and you could tell that we will advise everyone not to, for now, try to buy anything because if you buy adulterated petrol into your generator, it's going to knock it off. it might also cause more problems, and that means you might be looking for money, to fix those kind of equipment that you use. But some of those tweets coming out this morning, according to Eniola Akikuotu, at any boy, Nigeria doesn't have a culture of litigation. That is why NNPC can sell adulterated petrol that damage people's car, and many are not in court. Imagine it was in US that this happened. There will be a class action by now running into billions of dollars. I mean, that is the beauty of living in a civilized world, but Nigeria is not civilized yet. According to a former Senate, senator, I will almost say Senate president, but he wasn't the president, even though he wants to contest now. A very funny man himself, Dino Malaye. Someone should resign over imported adulterated petrol. This is coming from Dino Malaye, but nobody's going to resign. We all know that, and that is a bad fuel, up spec. Nigeria history with bad petrol. That is also coming from the tweet this morning. Farouk Barogi is a very critic of this government as well. Some of them have to run out of the country because you can't practice the kind of journalism, even though Delegiwa attempted to do so. But we know that he was killed by the present government during the regime of Babangida. Then a letter bomb was sent to him. He says some 19 hours ago on his Twitter handle at Farouk Barogi, I warned about adulterated fuel in Nigeria before the news cycle in Nigeria is now being dominated by stories of adulterated petrol in circulation at petrol stations. But petrol in Nigeria has been adulterated, inferior, low quality, and toxic for a very long time. I have called. So it's not something that has happened today. It has been going on for a very long time. According to David Odonye, this company, which most of us had never heard of until today, is the sole importer of petrol into Nigeria, and has had its operations shrouded in a total secrecy. It has no physical office in Panama and routes its business through a Panamanian law firm, Alima, Kodaro, Kalindo, and Lee. So this is the trend that is happening at 11:48 here in the UK, where we are all listening to Star Radio UK. And it's a shame that dirty petrol arrived in Nigeria in January, slip NNPC test. Now Nigerians are now asking, well, could it be the next revolt that might be coming out as more Nigerians are preparing, like Sanusi says, be prepared for the doom and brace up for the tougher times in the years ahead. That will be for me from this end. I'm going to come back to you in the studio. It is your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London, Star Radio UK, where we give you all that you need to know, not just in Nigeria, in Ghana, Uganda, and every part of the globe. But if you're sending money to your loved ones, the best way is send waves, and the code is S for Star, R for Radio. I'm sure your loved ones will probably need more help this time around, as things are becoming more biting for those in Nigeria. So you send waves and let them receive the money as quickly as possible. Udiase, let me come back to you in the studio.
Yes, listeners, I tell you that when we listen to some of this stuff, it's heart-wrenching. And one of those as well, because can you just imagine if you have a generator and it's broken down, and therefore now your business is not go on, or your food that you prepare and you put it in your fridge, and therefore everything is going to just go bad. Everything is going to go bad. The government says it's going to compensate. Now, where is the government going to get the money from? We always start and cry and say that we don't have the money, we don't have the money. But when waste like this is happening, and corporates are not actually apprehended and put before the courts, then we get worried. You think that's wrong? You think somebody will resign as have been posted by some citizens of Nigeria? Well, we will be looking into that. But I'm going to say, whenever Nigerian government takes one step forward, she takes 10 steps backwards at the expense of the masses. And that is so true. Can you just imagine if they were have to compensate everybody in the country? You know how much it's going to cost? If I tell you how much you used to repair an engine that has been an adulterated fuel has been used in, you know how much it costs? Well, listeners, let the conversation continue. But Yomi has to go, and then we have to continue with the program. But Yomi, before you go.
Well, don't talk to doubt. Continue to listen to Star Radio UK. I believe Frank and others will be joining very soon. But from this end, I'll be back again tomorrow. But you can also follow us on all the social media handle on Star Radio UK. Have a blessed morning, afternoon to those that are listening from Nigeria. But for those in Nigeria, let us brace up for the tougher times ahead.
Well, let us brace up for the tougher times ahead. Yomi, thank you very much. But I says, heads will not go. No head is going to go when it comes to Nigeria. But what? Let's take a commercial break and we'll come back. I bring you my lovely tune. Okay, let's take the lovely tune. My lovely tune. Oh, okay, let's take the lovely tune. Somebody said Raskimono was a prophet, and I tell you, Amayo, I agree with you 200%.
Thank you very much, those of you on the MixLR and Instagram. I'll be on just in under 10 minutes. Join me later on. Bye for now. In just about 10 minutes, we go live for our own afternoon broadcast. Bye for now.